Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower, and this is Lookback. This is a video where I go back and take a look at reviews that I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago, and I tell you what I think about them now, if I think about them at all. So let's go back a year. We have Shadows of Macau. This is a game I really wanted to like this one more than I did. I tried multiple times. It's, you're trying to outthink the other players. You're building this little engine of cards in front of you, but you just don't get anything started. The game just ends before it's interesting. It's blunderful. This is a game where they're like, you're in this awkward situation. What are you going to do? And, I don't know. I don't find that very interesting. Crosswords. Crosswords is a party-style game where you have to be super clever. And I think that's the problem with the game. I think it's a cooler game in theory. Like, ooh, I thought of this really clever clue. Yeah, but you would have to sit and think for it for a while, and some people aren't going to want to do that. Ripple Rush is a very forgettable roll and write game. I mean, the cover doesn't look interesting. You're actually flipping cards and writing, but there's just not a lot there that's exciting about this game. Brain Connect. This is those little slide puzzles you might have had as a kid. Speed version of those. And it's okay. If you like this sort of thing, you'll enjoy the game. But I think it lasts a time or two. Tasty Humans. Now, I really like the theming of Tasty Humans. The theming here is you're a monster and you're trying to fit as many humans in your stomach as you can. It's not a gross game at all. It's more of a Tetris-style game. But there's a lot of interesting things about it. The different monsters have special abilities. Droll is a party game where you're drawing pictures. It's like Pictionary with a big die. Then you roll the die, and people are going to look at the sides that they can see to try to figure out what your clue was. It works well. I liked it. Infinity Love Letter has gone up for me a bit because I think of all the love letters, this is my favorite. It's the most different, and it's a one versus all. One player is playing Thanos against everybody else. It also really works well at 3 players. Cutterland. This is a game where you're just cutting up a piece of paper and building different territories that you're going to be sticking into your area in front of you. Yes, it is a disposable game of sorts, although there's quite a few sheets in it to cut up. I mean, you got a lot of stuff. But it's a clever idea. It's not the only game that come out with scissors last year, but of the ones that did, this is the one I like best. Enchanter's Odyssey. I'm a big fan of Enchanters. I think it's a fun game where you're building one big enchanted weapon. This adds a whole lot more stuff to it. You'll never get bored with the game at this point. Toy Stories, Obstacles, and Adventures. This is a reworking of the Harry Potter deck building game. I like Toy Story more than I like Harry Potter, so this is one I enjoyed quite a bit. As you play through 7 different missions, but you can go back and play each one multiple times. King of Tokyo Dark Edition. I still want to see a big deluxe version of King of Tokyo. We've not seen that yet, but this was nice in the meantime. It's a darker version of King of Tokyo, but it's not really that dark. It's still cartoony and silly. It has a dark overlay to it. And they brought back some characters, but it's still just King of Tokyo. And Back to the Future, Back in Time. I really love this game. I really like that they took Back to the Future, a time-traveling game. Time travel is notoriously difficult to put into a board game, but this avoids that and just concentrate on the first movie, and your goal is to make Marty's parents fall in love. Really brings the movie to life. All right, 5 years ago, I took a look at Mash and Max. This is a game where like Play-Doh things, you move around and smash them. It's pretty terrible. Sun, Moon, and Stars. This is one of the last games from Minion Games, and I found it to be really boring, a really kind of abstractish game that was really forgettable. The Princess Bride, A Battle of Wits, another really forgettable game. There's the whole, is the poison in my cup or in yours? I like that concept. This takes that, tries to crank it up to 11, and the end result is just something that's just not very interesting. Monarch. I like the idea of this game, a fun card game, trying to see who the Monarch is. There's a lot of cool ideas here. And that's the way this company that made Monarch is. They constantly have really good ideas. I want to get behind their game, the graphic design, everything. But the games themselves fall a little flat. Bad Medicine. This is from Gil Hova, who had done The Networks and then came out with Bad Medicine, a party game for doctors. So specific that I played this with a doctor who enjoyed it, but everyone else was not very impressed with it. The Siblings Trouble. This is from Pencil First Games, and I really like the look of this one. It's a fantastic looking game. A kid's adventure style game. There's just not much game there. Crazy Carts from Portal. This is Portal's thing about racing game, but you're racing with somebody else. You're both controlling the cart. It's okay. It almost feels like an experimental game. Candy Chaser. This is a little game from Yellow. It's a kid-style game and works well in that regard, where you're trying to get a bunch of candy. Time Stories. Under the Mask. This one has dropped a bit for me, and it's hard to explain why without spoilers. But Time Stories Under the Mask was one where I first saw the cracks in the system a little bit. It felt like it was one of the more on rails stories from Time Stories. And there's something at the end of this scenario which I thought was really cool until the very end scenario, which came back and negated the coolness of this scenario. I know it's a lot of vagaries and such, but just I was really disappointed, so I dropped it. Linky. It's a silly party game that I really enjoy. Answer 4 trivia questions, and then what is the common link between those answers? Star Trek Frontiers. This was the reworking of Mage Knight, the board game, in a Star Trek world. I enjoyed it, but it's still fairly complex, and I barely get it to the table. Dwarves Inc. I really like this game a lot. I'm digging it because it just doesn't look that good. I never get anyone to play it. Where you're digging for gems, a little stock market. Man, this is one of those games where it doesn't look good, but it's quite fun. Mystic Vale. I'm always floating here between an 8 and an 8.5 on Mystic Vale. The concept is so clever. Building cards, that there's no theme. There's a lot of expansions, and the new app is really just whiz-bang. But, I don't know, 8 feels good. It's a game I really like a lot, but I still wish there was just something just a bit more. Imhotep. Game won the Spiel des Jahres, or at least was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres, filling up your boats with cubes and bringing them to shore and building structures. This is a solid game. If someone has never played games before, this is one of the best welcoming games I know. Meeple War. I dropped Meeple War a bit. I really like the game. There's a lot of fun aspects to it. I'm a little tired of the whole meeples fighting stuff, but this does okay. Just paled slightly over the years, but still a fun game. All right, 10 years ago, I reviewed Train of Thought. This is another party game where you have to jump from clue to clue to clue, making a train of thought. And again, it's too clever. These games that are too clever, they sound cool. And if you saw 2 really smart people playing them, they're amazing. But for most people, it's just too difficult to be able to come up on the spot with these clever clues. Feast and Famine, it's kind of an okay game that has really lackluster components. Licardo. What a terrible name. And it's just a basic word game. Pamplona, Viva San Fermin. I apologize if I pronounce it incorrectly. This is the running of the bulls. It's an okay game. I love the theme. But there's not a lot of nuance here as you just run from bulls that are chasing you. 51st State. This one I dropped a bit. Now, I know a lot of people really like 51st State. I like it, and I know Z likes it a lot. It's one of his favorite games. For me, it's fine. I'll play it. But it's not one that I ever seek out. It's been kind of displaced by Imperial Settlers, and even more so by Imperial Settlers Empires of the North. And Omen Reign of War. This came out 10 years ago, but it's still a game that I enjoy now, and I like the new version of it that just came out. It's not a great 2-player game, but there's a lot of things in this game that you haven't seen, and I like the mythological bent to it. So those are the games that I reviewed 1, 5, and 10 years ago. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Lookback on the Dice Tower.